Tov, we're continuing with halachot. That what happens if a person is stuck on a plane on Shabbat, which means that obviously he was traveling before Shabbat, and for whatever reason happened, there was a force majeure that caused that the plane only was going to land on Shabbat. So therefore, he's stuck in the plane on Shabbat. So obviously, there's no real choice of getting out of the plane. Nobody obligates you to open up the door, right, and to jump out mid-air. So that's for sure. But the question is, it's already Shabbat, and now what do you do, right, in such a scenario? So here it says like this, he says, if right now it lands on Shabbat and you have no other way of staying on the plane, because usually they force you to get off the plane, right? So therefore it's not like you have a choice, you know what, I'm going to stay here for the rest of the Shabbat. You have to go out, or also just because the etzim staying in the plane is obvious that you're going to do many more milachot, especially that whether you go, whether it's going to be in the restrooms or whatever that you have, whether it's even the water, all these things which are automatic, so therefore it's going to become a problem. In such a case, he comes and he says, if right now the plane was outside of the Tchum of Shabbat, on the onset of Shabbat, you go outside of the plane into the Sde Teufa, so you go inside the actual airport, and you have to stay there until Motzei Shabbat, but you're not allowed to leave the airport. Even if you don't have wine, you don't have Seudah, you don't have nothing, it doesn't matter, but you're not allowed to. And he says that as long as there's no Chashash Sakana, he's not allowed to get out of there. Right? He says even through a goy that's going to come and drive him home or whatever, he's not allowed to. Why? Once he's in the Sde Teufa, that's where he's supposed to stay. He's not supposed to go anywhere else. Now he comes and he says, what happens now when he's leaving the plane? He's got his things. Is he allowed to come and take his things into the building, into the terminal building? So he says like this. He says, if it's going to be that there's these walkways, which they come up straight to the way that we have it here, right, in Miami at least, in both airports, right, that basically you have a walkway that they come and they bring it up straight to the door of the plane, and then you come out, and it's a portable walkway. So there he says, there's no problem. You're allowed to walk normally, but you go straight from the plane going inside of the terminal. However, though, if it's going to be in other places where, for example, there's a bus, which means that the plane will land in a certain area, you'll get off the plane, and then you come and you take a bus, and you have to go to the terminal building. So he says in such a case, you're not allowed to carry your things outside of the plane or into the terminal, because here you have a problem. So therefore he says in such a case, you try to get a goy, that a goy will come and he will actually transport your belongings from the plane to the terminal, right? Because if not, then you're not allowed to do it. Or he says if there's no other way of doing it, you would have to do it what we spoke about a few days ago, where you're not stopping whatsoever, which means straight from the plane, you're walking down, but you're really basically kilu running, and you're always walking, right? You're always going. Now again, if it's going to become inside of a bus, it's a little bit difficult because I don't know where you're going to be walking there, but basically you're not stopping, you're always continuing. So since there's never going to be an akira v'anacha, which is you stop, so therefore it's not going to be, right, an isur doraita, and therefore they're going to be mekel, that you would be able to get your things inside of the terminal, but again, you would have to stay there for the entire Shabbat.